Okay, let's get rocking. This is one of the proudest and humbling moments of my professional life. Right up there, actually, with being sat on a motorbike in my leather jacket with my good friend Steve Gooding, riding pillion on the National Highway stand at this year's Highways UK. Now, I must admit that my dream hasn't quite come true this afternoon, as I had hoped to crowd surf in my metal gear from the back across to the stage. But let's not allow perfect to get in the way of good, shall we? It really is an honour to be stood before you all today as your president, and I thank the institution and my fellow professionals for putting your faith in me. Over the space of a quarter of a century of paying my subs as a member and then fellow, I think we can all recognise times have changed within and beyond the institution. And I've been involved with our institution's journey in a hands-on way, now taking my second turn on the Board of Trustees and CIHT Council, previously chairing the Membership and Skills Strategy Board, leading the 10-year review of our now chartered transport planning professional qualification, and more. I believe we are moving with the times, and rightly so, as a progressive membership body that's focused upon delivering public benefit. It's a challenging time that we're living in at the moment, professionally and for many of us personally. Not all people in the news at the moment share the values of our institution, but for me, it has felt absolutely natural to step into this role and represent those three core themes that are dear to CIHT, because they're dear to me too. I wish I had my green hat, some of you will know about. Climate action, equality, diversity and inclusion, and professionalism. So come on, let's make Earth great again. Now, our beloved sector includes many more issues than only these, and I don't want to diminish them by seeming to give them less attention. And yet, across the richness of all the issues those of you gathered in this room specialise in, those core themes have relevance, as is evident in the constructively challenging reports CIHT continues to produce. For example, on creating a public realm for all, taking a safe systems approach to our road network, on addressing the resilience of our infrastructure. But this afternoon, I want to speak to our three core themes, and I invite you to open your minds to the importance of delivering public benefit in what we do as members of this institution and of our professions. I'm following the work of past presidents of CIHT, including Karen McShane and Neil Johnson, in strongly supporting these themes, not least because they're all fundamental and complex and will continue to need our attention well into the future. Now, in addressing those themes during my presidential year, it may not have escaped your notice that I've mostly been wearing a heavy metal t-shirt and jeans. The intended message is not one of disrespect for the office of CIHT President. On the contrary, my intention is to underline the importance of bringing authenticity to addressing our three core themes and reflect a bit of the importance of my own authenticity. We have to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. In doing so, I do recognise that this may challenge some people's views on this, as it's not always the traditional way of doing things, but it will, at the very least, I hope, stimulate a conversation and some reflections, which we should all welcome. Walking the walk on climate action is to expect change, substantial change, and challenge to business as usual, unless we're prepared to risk drifting towards really quite frightening future prospects. Walking the walk on equality, diversity, and inclusion is also a huge undertaking. It goes much, much deeper than attending an afternoon training course or reading paperwork from HR. And I must say that as a white, non-disabled, heterosexual man, I've come to appreciate that, all else being equal, I've had a pretty comfortable passage through my career. This statement may not be comfortable for some people, but please reflect on the fact that if just one of those characteristics was different, the chances are I would have had a very different experience with greater helpings of discrimination. And the irony is, coming back to some words from Stephen earlier, that as a society and transport system we have seems to be designed with me in mind. And yet I'm actually in the minority, because most people in society are not white, male, heterosexual, and non-disabled. Now, the truth of the matter, of course, is that we're all different, and we need to celebrate that. I do confess that I am wearing a tour t-shirt under here. But it's not from a metal gig, but from the tour of the wonderful comedian Rosie Jones. Any other fans in the audience? Yes. Rosie's tour is called Triple Threat, and she inspires me because, as she unapologetically says, she's disabled, gay, and not afraid to be different. In terms of professionalism, for me and for our progressive institution, this includes the importance of constructive challenge. Being prepared to ask why, being prepared to question, being prepared to speak up and speak out and be true to your values. And at this point, I'd like to bring my mum in on this, if we can run a short video for you.
At Salisbury Grammar School, my son was offered the position of deputy head boy, so long as he had his long blonde hair cut. He wasn't happy with this, so I phoned the headmaster and pointed out that when we first looked round the school, the buildings were very shabby. And he said, but it isn't the buildings that make the school, it's the boys. So I pointed out to him, it isn't the long hair that makes the boy, it's the boy himself. And that my recollection was that the school was Christian-based. Irrelevant, he said. And I said, well, all the pictures I've seen of Jesus, he had long hair. Irrelevant. So when I asked him what were the perks of being deputy head boy, he said, perks, perks. And it turned out that deputy head boy was responsible for running charity events. But in his final year, A-level year at school, when he should be concentrating on his work. So I assured Glenn it wouldn't worry me one bit if he wasn't deputy head boy. And he decided not to do it.
Well, as you can see, in the fullness of time, they got me in the end, didn't they? Somewhere along the way, my long hair disappeared, and I now find myself devoting a lot of time to a charity alongside trying to get my work done. On this note, I do want to offer some thanks, because behind the busy presidential year lies the support of others, as you would expect. Thank you first to my employers, the University of the West of England and Mott MacDonald. You've both generously cut me the slack that was needed. And most importantly, a thank you, in her absence, to my wonderful and long-suffering wife, Susie, and to my amazing children who see me less than they should. As a young professional, I had the experience of rubbing shoulders with former presidents of this institution and delivering addresses at their conferences. This included looking to the future and what it might have in store as the digital age was colliding and merging with the motor age. I then had the honour of leading the CIHT Futures Initiative nearly a decade ago, which engaged across the membership through workshops in our UK regions to consider future uncertainty and how we plan for it in our sector. It's surprising now how, in the blink of an eye, time has flown by, and here we are in a future we once speculated about. During a presidential year, you have the privilege of engaging with many, many fellow professionals. And what I'm reminded of is our diversity, which amongst other important characteristics includes age. Only a few days ago, within the same event, I was inspired when talking to an octogenarian man, full of wisdom and stories and cheeky humour. And a short while later, found myself energised by the insight and passion for change from two younger female colleagues. I was reminded that everyone is on their journey through life and at different stages as our paths continue to cross. Sharing our experiences, views, hopes, and fears is how we learn and grow. Indeed, when it comes to growth, I'm reminded of the saying from my colleague Hannah Smart: "A comfort zone is a safe place to be, but nothing ever grows there." I wonder if all of you out there are currently in your comfort zones, or ready to step a little outside the zone for what you believe in and what matters. Well, I'd like to close by drawing your attention to an initiative from CIHT which is dear to my heart and which addresses what, across all ages and career stages, I hope is increasingly treated with the seriousness and importance it deserves. The initiative is called CIHT Climates and is proudly sponsored by Mott MacDonald and Ringway. It considers the prospects for the future ahead of us in terms of climate change and what priority action we should be taking in our sector in the immediate future. Only yesterday, we were in Birmingham doing the 10th date of our world tour, a series of fully booked one-day in-person workshops in which professionals come together to better understand climate change, to explore uncertainty about the future in the years ahead, and to determine what we should be doing about it in highways and transportation. The tour continues online in the new year. And I would like to ask you today if you'd lend a hand. For those who've been unable to come to one of the workshops we've designed, we now have an online exercise about to be made available that involves no more than half an hour of your time to consider the future, examine the climate change outlook, and share some of your views about what lies ahead and what's to be done about it. The CIHT Climate Survey will soon be able to be accessed via the main webpage of the initiative, which you should be able to find in your luncheon brochure. So could I ask you to do two things? Firstly, and importantly, once the effects of any drinking from this afternoon have worn off, consider registering your interest on the website in taking part in that online exercise once it's available in the near future. And secondly, please ask one or two friends and colleagues to consider taking part too. We need to hear your views to shape our reporting and hopefully to shape our future. Well, I think my time is almost up, which reminds me actually of a quote from the gay icon of heavy metal and lead singer of Judas Priest, Rob Halford. "Heavy metal is immortal, but we're not. So let's put the time we have before us in our careers to good work and be the best versions of ourselves that we can be in this wonderful profession of ours." And on that note, could I please ask those who are able to, CIHT members, to please be upstanding to toast our guests.
The toast is our guests.
Our guests.
Thank you. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. So the silence once again for the president.
Thank you again.